now. Okay. So Marlene Cameron has a question. I help interior designers navigate the challenges of demanding careers, multiple projects, timeline, deadlines, challenging clients while building their business. Many believe they need systems and processes to streamline their business, which is true. How do I present um, the concept that I provide solutions to their stress and overwhelm that will help them seamlessly adopt business systems? I'm a former commercial interior designer who left the field to study business, finance, psychology, and I'm returning to the field as a business coach to share what I discovered, especially around feeling like an imposter through various careers. Okay, so I'm confused about what the question is. Having read all that, I get that you're a business coach and I get that they need systems. So can you help clarify? I'm just a little lost.
Well, it's true that they need systems and processes in their businesses, but what I really want to help them with is the the stress and overwhelm that leads to potentially not being able to kind of deal with difficulties or deal with challenges, maybe not being a good listener, or they're not kind of tapping into kind of their common sense because their mind is in overwhelm.
Are they aware that they are in stress and overwhelm?
I think they are, but I think they believe that it's part of the it goes with the territory of being an interior designer. And I also see, and this is just as true for interior designers, but some people think that stress and overwhelm is a good thing because it shows that they're busy, productive, have lots on the go. Yeah.
So it seems like maybe a core message here is your interior design business doesn't have to be stressful and overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a successful interior design business without being stressed and overwhelmed. Is that true?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I might just lead with that and make that case. And so this is the idea of point of view marketing, where you say, look, you do have this kind of business in this industry, everybody's stressed and overwhelmed. It's become normal, and it doesn't have to be that way. And what most of you are told that you need is systems, and that's true, but you can have systems and still be stressed and overwhelmed. So where do you think stress and overwhelm comes from? Like, if somebody has all the business systems, they technically have everything, they're still stressed and overwhelmed. Why is that the case?
Okay. Well, I know where the stress and overwhelm comes from.
Yeah, I'm asking.
Oh, okay. So stress and overwhelm comes from essentially just overthinking things and having an overly busy mind and having, too much on your mind and not being more present so you can deal effectively with what's in front of you in the moment.
And so how do they do that? What's the solution? What are you prescribing to them?
Well, I really teach them how their mind works, where their experience is coming from, because often we associate stress and overwhelm with external events and situations, and that's not actually how it works. It's always our assumptions we make about something, or take on something that we have that's actually creating our internal experience of a situation.
Okay, so once people intellectually understand that that's true, what else do they need so that they're not stressed and overwhelmed?
Well, part of what I show them is how to kind of get to a better feeling place, if you want to call it that, where they can recognize when they do go into stress or overwhelm that's really a product of your thinking. It's not really what's going on. It's not causing them to feel that way.
I understand that you're saying the same thing. So what I'm wondering
Oh,
is,
okay. All right.
once they intellectually get it, aha, this is my thinking, this is not about what's happening now, it's maybe something in the past, or it's the meaning I'm attaching to it. Once they understand
Okay.
that,
Okay.
then how do they operationalize that? How do they
Okay.
show up?
Okay. So where that leads them to is focusing more on looking to themselves for the answers, having that deeper wisdom, those insights, that deeper understanding of things that comes from their their innate intelligence, if you want to call it that.
So how long is 30 seconds enough to just go inside and they never do it again?
Well, we're pretty conditioned to think that our experience is coming from external events. So it takes time for people to have their own insight around how this works.
Right. Okay. So here's where I'm still lost.
Okay.
You're making a case that the stress and overwhelm primarily comes from their thinking, their mind, the way they're processing stuff. And again, they can intellectually get that. And then what I'm hearing is, and then they just have to know that and, work with that in their life, and eventually some insight will pop. But what I'm wondering specifically is, in terms of what you're offering them, is it that you're just going to tell them that that's how the mind works? Or is there a practice that you offer? Is there like a little workbook, a journal? Is there some series of steps that they go through to implement this beyond just getting it logically?
Well, what I'm really teaching them is a different understanding of how the mind works based on it's called the three principles. So it's really a new understanding rather than a technique. When we really see where our experience is coming from, then we don't we don't take it so seriously. We don't buy into it. We can kind of move past it and kind of be more.
How do they integrate this understanding into their life?
Well, through my coaching and my training.
Got it. So, okay, I got it. So what's your question?
I think you likely already answered it. Is the idea that having a successful business doesn't have to be stressful and overwhelming. And yes, you can have all kinds of systems and processes in place and still be stressed and overwhelmed. So there's something else going on there that I can help them with.
I have you seen my stuff around point of view marketing?
Mhm.
Did you see the webinar number 2 around the 3 cases?
I don't know. Well, I went through it quickly. We could go back and have a look at it. Yeah.
You might want to check that out. If you just search on YouTube, Tad Hargrave, point of view
Yep.
webinar, 3
Yep.
cases. And then there's also, okay, so Island A, the symptom is that they're an interior designer and they're stressed and overwhelmed.
Mhm.
And so for everyone, it's just good to be thinking about your own clients. They've got some Island A, they've got some problem they have, if what you're offering is a service, anyways. And what's so important to be clear about is, what are they aware of in terms of the potential causes? Because if they come to you saying, you know what, it's my thinking and I've got to get my thinking straight, that's one headline. And if they come to you with that, that hasn't occurred to them, that's a different headline. Yeah. So one of the things I would recommend is a little Venn diagram, probably, or some sort of a map where you say, look, here's an image where you say, here's where the stress comes from. There's multiple things going on. So for example, overcommitting, poor business systems. What else would you say outside of thinking? What are other things, elements of the stress and overwhelm?
Creeping scope of the project that they kind of gets out of hand.
Yeah, great. What else?
Sometimes because of their own feelings of self-doubt or insecurity, they actually spend too much time coming up with design solutions. So they're overworking their solutions.
Yeah. It seems like those two have in common. There's a kind of overgiving on both sides. The scope keeps
Yeah.
creeping. They're spending too much time on drawings. So there's a difficulty with boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
clear agreements, and sticking to those. Yeah, lack of business systems. Is there anything else?
Um, I think there's like an element of what, what's referred to as imposter syndrome. Um, the challenge with interior designers that many of them are highly educated. They have, bachelor and master's degrees. They're certified, they're registered, they're licensed. But they're also in the same field as sort of self-proclaimed interior designers. So so they're always kind of explaining themselves and trying to differentiate their capabilities.
Great. Okay, so let's just say there's 4 things that cause the stress. There's kind of their thinking about it, the meaning they're attaching, just how their mind is working.
Mm,
Second is imposter syndrome. Third is bad business systems, and fourth is overgiving in some way. No good.
right. Yeah.
Is there anything else that occurs to you?
Um, I think just the quantity of information that they're expected to keep up to date with. Like there's endless continued education courses on building codes and building systems and materials, and just the quantity of information that they are expected to stay on top of.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. So um, here's the homework I would give is to take those 5 things,
Okay.
put and just write them down on a piece of paper, and then start to doodle how do they spatially relate to each other. So, for example, is it kind of a pyramid where it's like the very first thing you got to deal with is this, and then once you got that, then there's this, or is it a Venn diagram that they're all kind of equal and you just have to make sure you've got them all handled? Is it concentric circles, which is sort of another way of looking at the pyramid? Um, because if you can help them understand, look, here's why you're stressed, and I work now. Which of those pieces do you help them on? Are there any of those pieces you don't help them on?
I don't necessarily get involved with actual business processes. I can help them sort things out that in a way that they know it would work for them, rather than just indiscriminately kind of taking on somebody else's systems.
Oh.
But I don't help them develop them.
So it sounds like this may be part of why they're stressed and overwhelmed, is they're taking on, either they have bad business systems on one hand or no business systems, or they're using somebody else's business systems that don't really fit them and they're trying to shoehorn themselves into it.
Right.
Yeah. And so then, okay. So yeah, if you can help them see where they're stressed and then say, look, we would be a good fit if these things are true. You know, um, I'm just imagining if I see that Venn diagram, it's like, oh, is she going to help me with all 5 circles equally? Or is her sweet spot really the thinking piece? And then, is it that your ideal client already has those other 4 pieces mostly handled? Or is it that you say, look, all 5 are important? And because it could be like concentric circles where it's, the center is the thinking. And you
Well, I
say,
call it kind of like state of mind, which is related to their
right,
mental and emotional state. So their state of mind is the most critical for sure.
right. Okay. So it's like this is the center and everything ripples out from that. So we start with a state of mind and then we work on this and then we work on this and then we work on this. But here's why we're going to start with a state of mind. As I know you might think it needs to be time management system, business systems, and all this. So that becomes the marketing, is making the case that the real reason so many people are overwhelmed is because they haven't got the state of mind right.
Right. Right. And then everything else, kind of flows from that. Everything else gets easier.
You're right. That's the case that has to be made.
Okay.
So there you go.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you.